We'll start the meeting tonight by opening the public hearing relative to ordinance 2018-35, an ordinance granting a rear yard setback variance to Mark and Caroline Kangas for the property located at 29850 Smithfield Road, Orange Village, Ohio. Is there anybody here who'd like to speak in regards to that? Noted. All right, so if no other comments, we will close the public meeting. And if you'd call roll for the meeting tonight, please.
Barron?
Yes.
Braverman? Here. Klein?
Yes.
Bilski?
Yes.
Luder?
Yes.
Perry? Put in?
That you're here?
Here.
Oh, God. Here. I thought you were closing the public.
I am also here.
Here, not yes.
Can I have a motion to approve the special council meeting minutes?
Motion made.
7th, 2018.
Motion made.
Second.
Thank you and thank you. Does anybody have any comments? Okay. If not,
Barron?
Yes.
Braverman?
Yes.
Klein?
Yes.
Bilski?
Yes.
Luder?
Yes.
Duber?
yes. And can I have a motion to approve the treasurer's report of fiscal year 2018 through September? Thank you. Is there a second? Thank you. Dana, oh, there you are. You did move. Tricky.
Treasurer's report for cash balances as of September 30th. We have just over $10.4 million in the account. And as I had stated earlier, we have the investment account with Raymond James. That's the new account that we opened up in September, and that's stated on there as well. I also provided you with a summary of the monthly and year-to-date activity for through September. For the September revenues, all funds are about $876,000, and our September expenditures is just over $1 million. And then lastly, I also have provided you with the revenue and expenditure report for September 30th, and I gave it to you with all funds. Quarterly, we give you all funds, just and the other months you just see the general fund. So we're at 75% of the year, and you can go through, and there was a couple accounts that were getting close for September, so tonight on the agenda is an appropriation ordinance to make a couple tweaks to the account to get us through the rest of the year. And then next month, you'll get your final year-end report.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions?
The question I had is on the transfers are the ones we're going to deal with tonight, I assume. The transfers on the.
They're not in there because it didn't happen yet until after we approve it.
I'm asking, it shows down at the bottom, but they'll be done after we pass them.
Those aren't the same ones, those are the budget.
I'm trying to figure out.
This is a modified. No, we haven't made the transfers till after you approve it.
Which transfers are you talking about? I guess I'm confused. Some of the transfers have already been done. There is one transfer that's new, that's in the amended budget that was not in a,
Adjusting.
yes.
Okay, I just want, so those are the old numbers, that's all.
If you would call roll, please.
Barron?
Yes.
Braverman?
Yes.
Klein?
Yes.
Bilski?
Yes.
Luder?
Yes.
Perry? Duber?
And can I have a motion to approve the tax administrator's report of October 31st, 2018? I'll make a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. If you would, please.
Hello. You have now a report in front of you for the tax administrator's report through October 31st, and that is showing gross collections for Orange Village, Pinecrest, and Chagrin Highlands for October of $379,000. That is down from where we were in October of 2017 by about $61,000. I talked with Rita, and it looks like it's a timing issue. We are up from year-to-date by about $311,000 over where we were through October of last year. I gave you your graph showing the month-to-date by month revenue, and then I also provided a graph showing our year-to-date through October from 2016, 17, and 18, so you can see how that's how the growth has been pretty steadily climbing for those last 3 years.
Thank you. Any questions at all? All right, if you'd call roll, please.
Barron? Yes. Braverman? Yes. Klein?
Aye.
Wolski?
Yes.
Cluter? Yes. Harry? Yes. Duber?
To be paid for the month of November 2018 in the amount of $613,470.88, and additional October 2018 expenses in the amount of $88,841.87. Does anybody have any questions on the bills to be paid?
And I just want to point out to you that in the general fund, which is the operations, 87,000, you see this month, 330 of that was paying debt service, and 132 was paying some road project bills, so that's why it's so high.
Any comments?
Question on the Newberry sandblasting,
Where is that?
been for Newberry.
Oh, fair.
We finished a vehicle, OR 61.
We did, we sandblasted and epoxy coated flat lip for our hook lift and one of the salt spreaders. Just one of our routine maintenance to extend the life. Great, thanks.
Any other comments, questions, concerns? Okay. Moving on to audience comments relating to agenda items only. Yes, you can come on up, and if you state your name and say who you are and what you're...
Sure. So, for the record, my name is Michael Mooney. I'm here tonight on behalf of my grandfather, Robert Dennis Mooney Sr. He's the owner of Mooney & Sons Service, located at 27,000 Chagrin Boulevard, who unfortunately could not make it here tonight on such short notice. Tonight you guys are going to be discussing an ordinance. It's ordinance number 2018-45. It's an ordinance agreeing to adjust the boundaries between Orange Village and the city of Beechwood pursuant to Ohio Revised Code Section 709.37 and zoning the new territory. First reading. So tonight my grandfather had asked me to explain to council, wanted them to know that pertaining to this ordinance, that he received a letter on Saturday, this past Saturday, November 10th, in which I have a single copy of with me here tonight, if anybody wants to see, which briefly described a boundary adjustment for his property and parcels. And in his words, he was very surprised, as was my father, Dennis Jr., and myself, third generation. Today, I took it upon myself to reach out to the other property owners listed on the letter my grandfather received on Saturday, and I was actually only able to make contact with one representative, and that was the representative for the 3690 Orange Place building, who I actually had an opportunity to meet with today. He told me that he has not received any letter at all, and frankly knew nothing about this at all, and was also, in his words, surprised. My grandfather, who is a very strong patriot for this country, who fought in World War II and has been operating and serving Orange Village and Orange Village residents for over 50 years, is just simply asking to be part of the discussion when it pertains to this very important issue relating to his boundary adjustment, so he and others can successfully determine the full impact of this legislation that is before you all tonight. For the record, I will state the importance to note to all of you that besides the letter received on Saturday, this past Saturday, no one from Orange Village has contacted any member of the Mooney family directly. And with that, I'll close. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments. Any other comments relating to agenda items? Okay. Let's move on to old business of pending legislation and motions. Can I have a motion to adopt the conclusions of facts for ordinance 2018-35? Thank you. Is there a second? Thank you. If you'd call roll, please, on...
Aaron? Braverman?
Yes.
Klein?
Yes.
Bilski?
Yes.
Cluter?
Yes.
Perry?
Yes.
Duber?
Yes. And can I have a motion to pass ordinance 2018-35, an ordinance granting a rear yard setback variance to Mark and Carolyn Kangas for their property located at 29850 Smithfield Road, Orange Village, Ohio?
So moved.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other comments on this?
I just had a question. Were there any changes to the draft?
Yeah, instead of facing east.
Draft head.
It was a typo.
Any other comments? All right, if you'd call roll, please.
Aaron?
Yes.
Braverman?
Yes.
Aye.
Bilski?
Yes.
Cluter?
Yes.
Perry? Yes. Duber?
Guys can,
We'll see you at planning and zoning.
now you guys can go. Moving on to ordinance 2018-36, an ordinance enacting a new chapter 181 of the Orange Village Codified Ordinances to create Orange Village, the Orange Village Tax Incentive Review Council. This is on for third reading. Is there a motion? I'll make a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any comments? If you'd call roll, please.
Aaron?
Yes.
Braverman?
Yes.
Klein?
Aye.
Bilski?
Yes.
Cluter?
Yes.
Perry?
Yes.
Duber?
Moving on to ordinance 2018-37, ordinance declaring the improvement of certain real property to be a public purpose pursuant to revised code section 5709.40B, declaring such improvement to be exempt from real property taxation, designating public infrastructure improvements to be made that will directly benefit such property, requiring annual service payments in lieu of taxes, designating a municipal public improvement tax increment equivalent fund for the deposit of such service payments, and authorizing compensation payments to the Orange City School District and declaring an emergency. This is on for third reading. Is there a motion? I'll make the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Klein. And any other comments on this?
To call it something, like that came up in the budget meeting, to call it rather than the Pinecrest TIF, just to keep it.
You need that, Dana and Matt?
We can call whatever we want. Going to be the controlling item.
Okay.
Dana can label
Right.
that whatever she needs to.
So I didn't know if that would, in the future.
Any other comments? You call roll, please.
Aaron?
Yes.
Braverman?
Yes.
Klein?
Yes.
Bilski?
Yes.
Cluter?
Yes.
Perry?
Yes.
Yes. Moving on. Oh, yes. The superintendent. If you'd like to come up and say hi, or no? Anyone? Anyone? If you guys would like to introduce yourselves and.
I'm Lynn Campbell. I'm the superintendent of schools.
Oh.
I came on board officially August 1st, and I'm excited to be here. And I thank you for the transparency and the nice letter I received from Mayor Mulcahy explaining everything up front. I was able to communicate that with the board, and I rely so heavily on Todd and his expertise. And but we're happy to be here tonight, just to be part of the process.
Oh, good.
For the record, I'm Todd Pester, Treasurer of the Orange City Schools. And once again, thank you for making sure that we are well informed about what's going on and the rationale for the decisions that are being made. I can also tell you that I'll be working with the school board and the administration on securing the school board's representative on the Tax Incentive Review Council in the next couple of months. And I know another thing that came up earlier this evening at the Finance Committee with respect to the refinancing. The school district did a refinancing of the bonds issued for Moreland Hills elementary school about a year and a half ago, and we were able to save our taxpayers over 9 years about $1.4 million in interest costs. So that,
Thanks for
you know, I mean, it's a smaller amount for you, but still, it's significant. So I encourage you to do what you could do. Our good news is you don't have the amount of debt that we had related to that. You know, it's all about the outstanding debt service.
Great, thank you. Thank you both for coming. You're welcome anytime.
Thank you.
Moving on to ordinance 2018-38, an ordinance amending section 1327.01 of the Codified Ordinances of Orange Village to restate the deposit requirement for professional fees, ratifying prior actions taken in accordance with the established policy of the village, and declaring an emergency. This is on for second reading. Are there any changes from last? No.
That's a different ordinance. That's on the rental deposit.
Oh.
Are there any comments on this ordinance? Okay. We can move on. Moving on to ordinance 2018-39. Is this on for
Might be off.
I don't know.
The winter's.
There's a second reading.
Okay, so we can do second reading, then hold it up till it goes through the process.
Yeah,
Reading.
yeah. This was going to Planning Commission. This will be on Planning Commission's agenda
Was asking.
next week.
I thought you take it off and then you put it back on. That was why I was asking them.
Still on?
Might be off, might be on.
Pretty sure we did.
All right, so moving on. Ordinance 2018-39, an ordinance granting a rear yard setback variance to John and Billy Rowat for the property located at 30 Orchard Circle, Orange Village, Ohio. This is on for second reading, and it's being referred to planning.
It's on the Planning Commission's agenda for next Tuesday.
Does anybody want to make comments on this? Or wait, okay. Moving on.
Hearing date set? Council when it comes back.
Doesn't have, we put on the website. We don't have to copy.
Don't we need a public hearing?
Moving on to ordinance 2018-40, an ordinance granting a rear yard setback variance to Paul Panin and Sarah Mowry for the property located at 4160 Cambridge Court, Orange Village, Ohio. This is on for second reading, and this is also being referred to planning.
Can I ask a question of the law director? I got an actual letter as a resident from the building department about this particular property, dear neighbor. Will I be able to vote on any of this? I mean, I went and checked the property. I actually wrote to the mayor, and she sent me back some little note saying, yes, I thought with planning and zoning, it was going to be on this week's planning and zoning, this particular legislation. But it's going to be on the 20th or something?
The fact that your residence is located proximate to the property that's subject to the variance doesn't necessarily mean you're conflicted out. We should have the discussion offline about whether or not you're comfortable voting or not.
Well, I went and checked the property. I've done a whole shtick on this, and
Your feedback, if you have an objection.
I do. I'm going to write something. Do you want me to put it in writing?
And if you do take a position, you probably want to abstain from a vote on it.
That's what I was thinking. That's why I want to do this right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Comments? All right, thank you. Moving to ordinance 2018-41, ordinance amending section 931B of the Codified Ordinances of Orange Village, requiring persons and/or entities to make a cleaning and repair deposit for the use of village municipal facilities and declaring an emergency. This is on for second reading. I assume that there's nothing different than the one change that was made at the last meeting.
I have a question as far as the how this is going to actually be administered if there's an issue. Is it?
Which one are we on?
Yeah,
cleanup.
Deposit, cleaning deposit.
If we don't have the cameras up, if there's only one party in the weekend, it's easy to know. But it's going to be a call from the service department because they're the first ones to get in the morning and they go check things out. So we're going to defer to Bob if they
Mess it up.
get their deposit back.
But is it an all or nothing situation where I have a party there, somebody forgets a bag of garbage, am I going to lose my $200, or are you going to, I guess I understand wanting to protect our property and the upkeep, but I don't want to make it punitive. I know I give you the example how I have my kids' baseball picnic at the end of each summer there. We try to bring all the garbage bags to the dumpster, but am I going to be fined my $200 if one bag is left there? I guess what's the criteria? Because I hate to dissuade people from using our facilities.
I don't know what it says in the ordinance, but I'll tell you, we're pretty fair and nice, so we wouldn't be punitive ever, but that's...
I mean, we already know if somebody has a permit who's using it without the deposit. I just wonder, regardless if it's $1 or $500, is this going to be a deterrent for actually people reserving our parks?
Well, I started at 100 and...
I would assume that it has something to do with the amount of additional cost that's necessary for cleaning and repairing the municipal facility. Would that be
Yeah, the
correct?
liability is set at the cost of solving the problem.
Right,
So if somebody leaves a bag of garbage, I assume there's no cost for that. If it takes...
The labor of the man to move it.
If it takes an hour and a half to clean it up,
right,
then whatever the cost is to that could be deducted from the...
The deposit is not a cap.
That's right.
But I guess, is it, if you get fined, it could be $25 or something, and I can get my $175 back or something like that.
It's a cost recoupment. It's a deposit for a cost to the village.
Okay.
The village should document whatever the cost is.
So I would...
Because the deposit should be returned if it's unused.
Okay.
And the village should only keep what is used.
I think then, if this passes on third reading, I think we need to update all of our forms, our licenses, so it's very clear to the renter, they know exactly what they're getting and what the costs will be. Right, exactly.
Just give the renter back a credit for his next use.
No.
Paying interest?
No.
Apply to the Woodell Room, the Singer Pavilion, and the Pike Pavilion. Those are the only 3 facilities that are subject. So if it's a ball field...
Right, I mean, we always use we use the Singer Pavilion, but, okay.
Problems going on in ball fields, we'll amend it, but that hasn't been the issue. It's been where food and parties.
And if we do get the cameras we were talking about, that would help as well.
Big Brother's watching.
Any other questions on that? Moving to ordinance 2018-42, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with the Village of Moreland Hills for the joint purchase and operation of a sewer camera and locator and declaring an emergency. This is on for second reading. The administration.
Are we going to suspend that?
Finish talking, please. No. The administration has requested suspension of the rules. Would anybody like to make a motion to suspend the rules?
Motion made.
I'll second it. I'll second it.
Okay. Thank you. I'll roll on suspension.
Barron,
Yes.
Braverman,
Yes?
Klein,
Yes.
Bilski,
Yes.
Cluter,
Yes.
Perry. Yes. Duber.
Yes. And Mr. Barron, you seem like you want to. Would you like to make the motion to pass ordinance 2018-42? Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Would anybody like to know why the amount changed?
We
Did nobody notice? From last week, it's a different amount this week than it was last week. Last week, it was just, what's the thing called again? The sewer camera. And we were gonna buy a locator on our own.
That's incorrect. $8,700 was for the sewer camera and locator. And as you approved, we also had a transmitter which Moreland Hills was not going to purchase. So we had approval for the $10,350. Moreland Hills was going to reimburse us half of the $8,700. They opted to go in partnership with the transmitter. So the net result is it's actually less out of pocket for the village. So we are sharing one, so this is
They're going to give us half of the 10,000.
They're gonna share both pieces.
Whatever.
So instead of the 41, change, it's now they're gonna be up half of this, so.
We were gonna buy that on our own.
Very good. Good job.
Any other comments? Roll, please.
Barron. Yes. Braverman,
Yes.
Klein,
Yes.
Bilski,
Yes.
Cluter, Perry. Yes. Duber.
Yes. Moving on to new business. Ordinance 2018-43, an ordinance enacting a new chapter 741, environmental regulations for businesses of the Orange Village Codified Ordinances to require businesses within the village to adopt and comply with certain policies that decrease adverse impacts on the environment. This is on for first reading. This is a ordinance that I had requested on the agenda. It's something that I know we've been talking about on council a bit. This is a pretty, at least in my opinion, it's a pretty simple, straightforward ordinance. Essentially, the crux of this is the 741.03, which is on page 2. The implementation, it just indicates that retailers shall offer only either a reusable carry-out bag or permitted paper bag to a customer at the point of sale for the purpose of transporting goods. That disposable plastic bags shall not be used retail or wholesale within the village limits by any business. So essentially the purpose of essentially the effect of this is that when purchasing, clothes from a store, when you're picking up food to go, when you go to a grocery store and get a grocery bag, that those bags are considered permitted paper bags, meaning that the bag is manufactured from 40% recycled content and the bag is 100% recyclable. I don't think that this would have a large adverse effect on many of the businesses, most of the businesses in Orange Village. It only goes to the, like I said, at the point of sale. If you would notice it, most businesses in Orange already, when you purchase food to go or you're buying clothes, they're already coming in paper bags. And there is a notice requirement here as well that, it could be something that I think we can consider changing the effective date of this in order to give a little more time for businesses to adapt so that they don't have to throw away stock of bags. But this is something that I've seen in many other states. I'm not aware of any other ordinances such as this in Ohio. But I've seen it in a lot of other states. The communities tend to embrace it. The residents tend to embrace it. I have also spoken to Sunny Simon with County Council about this. She has been looking at doing substantially similar ordinances, and I'm getting some nods. I think it is a lot easier at the village municipal level than it is to get this passed at the county level. I know that, I don't want to speak for her, but I think based on my phone call with Sunny Simon today, she was extremely enthusiastic about Orange Village taking a stand such as this. And that's basically my spiel. There are a lot of, permitted uses here of plastic bags, so that it's not ridiculous. Obviously newspaper bags can't be paper. So anything where there's, potential for something that's in the bag to get wet, you can use a plastic bag when you go to the grocery store and they're packaging up fish and meat and stuff like that. Obviously that's a permitted use for a plastic bag. I know that we've talked some about recycling before and other aspects and requiring recycling, which is something that we can, for businesses, I think that's something that we can discuss down the road, but I think this is a good first step, and it's a pretty simple step that Orange Village can take. Yes?
Does this just apply to Orange Village businesses?
Yes.
It doesn't apply to homeowners
No.
throwing out their waste?
No, it has nothing to do with throwing out waste. It just has to do with the point of sale of the purchase of goods. So when you purchase something from a business, when you take those things out of the business, that's what this is referring to.
And only the plastic bag, not plastic containers,
For food? Yeah, no, again, it goes to, there's, if you have food that could leak because it's wet, we're not I think that's a step that we don't necessarily need to take, especially now. I think, we should make something that is relatively easy for businesses to adapt to, and I would say that probably most of them already do. I don't think that Whole Foods uses plastic bags at all for the groceries. I know that when you go most of the stores at, one of the concerns is Pinecrest. Of course, we don't want to make a hardship for any of these businesses. And, we're not here, this isn't to be punitive. This is to, continue on what most businesses are already doing. Most businesses at Pinecrest, you would notice that they're already using paper bags. Yes, sir.
I appreciate the environmental stewardship that this represents. I think it's good to be a leader. I would, however, I think it might be appropriate, as long as we're going here, is to include in that straws.
Yeah.
Eliminating plastic straws.
Yeah. And with straws.
In businesses in Orange Village. Is that something that could be an amendment to this ordinance?
That this is drafted as a chapter. The idea is there may be other regulations that would find their location here. If you are regulating businesses in other regards with an environmental impact in mind, it could be located in this chapter.
Okay, so, but as long as we're instituting in this first iteration of the chapter that element of the paper bag, why not also suggest the inclusion of straws?
I'm personally not opposed to it. I think that it would maybe make sense to have a separate ordinance that would be straws. I don't know. I'm all in favor of your suggestion. I don't know the best way to necessarily implement that, and I'd leave that up to the law director for the advice.
My recommendation would be to, if you're going to adopt, a majority of the people want to adopt this ordinance, and then plug in the next regulation into the new chapter, because you'll want to,
no doubt there'll be other things that
start thinking about things. You could come up with a bunch of things and never pass the ordinance.
Right.
So my recommendation is work
Get
on
the ordinance on the books and then add to it. Okay.
Yes,
Mr.
Bilski, and then I'll go to you,
That's
Francis.
okay, go ahead.
Once we started talking about this, I did a little bit of research, and I just sent Anna an interesting article in Forbes that I found from September, because I was curious. We were in Seattle, and they had that ban there. I was curious how widespread this is. Well, first off, it cites an article or a study that says a plastic bag has a 12-minute lifespan, but it compares to estimates that those bags take anywhere from 10 years to 1,000 years to decompose, depending how they're tossed. So, I mean, it's an issue. California and Hawaii have statewide bans, and if Anna can forward that article to you guys later or tomorrow, there are countless cities really around the country now that are adopting this. Most of them seem to be in the Northwest. Other cities, besides banning them, have instituted taxes on any kind of bags, plastic or paper. I know I've been in different parts of the country where they'll charge you for bags, and that's an incentive for people to bring their own bags. I think this is a very good first step. Brandon alluded to the implementation time. I don't want to be punitive to anybody, and I would think that we should talk about, if we're in favor of doing this, instead of January 1st, maybe April 1st, or something like that as a time period.
A March or something like that.
It's just
put on Earth Day.
To give them a quarter to.
Bag out of Orange Village?
It has nothing to.
I guess I'm asking, is the village the proper jurisdiction for something like this?
Yeah. It's the point of sale. I mean,
I understand that, but taking the bag out of Orange Village, I mean.
But where'd you get it?
What's my village's interest?
Well, it's at the place you gave it to you.
I understand the point of it. Where did the definitions come from? Did you draft these, Steve?
No, this is modeled after Colorado municipalities ordinance.
Very good.
Okay.
Yes, assuming this becomes a piece of legislation, and it talks here, 74199 about penalties, for people who are guilty of a misdemeanor, how are we going to let the businesses know that we're going to have, if we implement this, that, you know, we're going to have this on the books and we want them to be in compliance, or?
Section 3 requires the provision of notice to businesses.
I think the better question is,
Wouldn't you be telling them sooner, though?
Oh, Mayor, would you like to speak?
Appreciate the intent, and I know where we're trying to go. I would respectfully request that we have some kind of working group, because if you look at my paper here, I have a lot of questions. I'm not trying to throw roadblocks up to the outcome, but there are significant policy, there's questions I have. We've networked with Diane Bickett. We've networked with, you know, a few other things. I think we can make it better, but I have questions, and enforcement is one of the biggest ones.
Yeah.
But I think we can, whoever Brandon wants to be in this work group, I'd like us to meet in the next, you know, month and work through some of the issues that the administration has with this.
Why don't we have a special, Brandon, why don't we have a work session specifically for this, maybe? And we can brainstorm?
You know, with like Bob McLaughlin and some.
Whatever, and we could brainstorm. I mean, it's just a thought.
If we could have a smaller group to talk about these things through, that would be my.
Meaning?
Council as a whole, just.
An ad hoc committee.
But we're not that many. I mean, and we've probably all got something we'd like to say.
Preclude you from saying it, but I certainly would like to have a working group to work through the issues that we have with it.
Of course. So we could do it together, I think.
Better together.
Who do you think, again, this is probably at that committee report, but thinking about who the biggest offenders might be, do we have Rite Aid in our, is Rite Aid in?
No, but I have asked the Fairmount property developers to get back to me. They're thinking about like who this might affect, and
Like the newer tenants as much as some of the older ones, like if we have like Sugar Boulevard.
Village Tavern, I picked up some food to go today and it came in a plastic bag. So,
I thought that was one of the exclusions that,
no.
with food, that with leaking.
If you have if it's in a plastic container, but when they give you a bag of food to go.
Paper bag.
It still has to be in a paper bag. Well, like most restaurants do. I mean, that's the purpose of it. I mean, if we exclude it for taking food to go, then this is silly, because, you know, that's one of the biggest offenders of it. I would respectfully request that you give us a little working group to work through some of the things so we could feel more comfortable with everything.
You know, we legislate the size of a retailer's sign outside.
Mm-hmm.
Legislate how far their sign on the street has to be away from the street. We legislate. We do things to help people, to save the environment, to help save lives, so that the sign doesn't obfuscate someone that's driving. This is no different. We legislate already.
Yeah.
But
Let's look at it.
we also have to look into what the state is doing, because I understand the state is considering legislation that would take away our right to legislate this.
So my opinion to that,
Get it on the books sooner.
Yes, right.
you know what, I don't think it's a good thing for us to get intimidated because a state legislature doesn't have the same opinion that many of our constituents in the state have and in our community have. And I would say that the makeup of our state legislature is not necessarily representative completely of what is in our municipality. And, you know, I think it would be foolish for us to go ahead and just say, well, the state legislature is going to go ahead and try to pass legislation that is against this, and my response to that would be bring it on. Because I think that where we as a municipality have to make a stand on certain things, and I know myself, I've been adamant about environmental concerns for a long time. I think this is a great step forward and to begin this process.
To the mayor's request about having some more time with this, I mean, we have 3 weeks till our next council meeting. Is that enough time to convene this committee and,
Being it, but I can't, you know,
I mean, I guess,
a lot of things going on. We can tell me who it's going to be, and we'll get together, and that will start the process. But I can't promise you we'd be done by 3 weeks.
Well, I guess I just still don't understand, and Mayor, we've talked about this.
Brian,
And I'm not saying this,
overthink it.
but you are, with all due respect. This is a relatively simple, I mean, the whole legislation pretty much comes down to one sentence, which is retailers shall offer only either a reusable carryout bag or a permitted paper bag to a customer at the point of sale for the purpose of transporting goods, period.
My research and the little bits of things I've done is that there's a few more open-ended questions than that, but
Bag police.
I can't visualize how this really works in the real world. I can't visualize how enforcement is. Do I hire Tom Shields an extra day a month so he can go shopping? I don't really visualize this, and I'm not trying to be a roadblock. I have to administer this, so I have to understand it, and the people that are involved have to understand
Right,
it.
and
It's confusing to me.
What we do,
It's not as clear to me as you're saying it is.
what we do is we explain to the residents that we're being environmentally sensitive, and we let them be the one that comes to us and complains. There's no reason to have official.
I disagree.
Us to complain about the bags?
You know, there'll be readings of this ordinance, and the public has an opportunity to weigh in.
We'll let them know.
like the movie theater, where there's a problem, they'll be asked to inspect it, I would imagine, for enforcement.
And this is, again, how many businesses, how many retail businesses do we have?
Grocery store.
Village.
Well, like Mr. Mooney just complained, I would like to have a chance to communicate with some of those people before.
No, I understand, but I think if we look at how many businesses there are in Orange, we could probably go ahead and,
No.
if we think about it, there's probably only a handful of businesses that aren't most likely already in substantial compliance with this. And again, my intent here is not to be punitive, and I think once businesses are using the proper permitted paper bags, that it's not really going to be a very large amount of enforcement that has to be done on this. To say that Tom Shields would need a day a month to enforce this, I think is
You're right, and that's the outcome of it. I just don't know that yet. And my brief conversation with Bob McLaughlin was not like, oh, no big deal. So give me a chance to work through some of these things, but I'd like to have somebody else's.
Let me just ask Steve a question. If we put in a chapter into the charter,
No.
just into the ordinances, so it won't take any more time to amend it, really, than any other situation.
Council has the authority to amend ordinances.
So we won't have to, well, I mean, the only reason we're creating a chapter is because this topic hasn't been dealt with by the village at all.
Well, it's a unique category in that you're regulating a business for environmental purposes. And I'm aware of at least two other ideas that are floating out there. One is the straws that could be located in such a chapter.
There's straws, there are plenty of straws in a lot of places in Orange Village.
Bottles would be a big one.
Limited experience in some of those places, but, and some are only for stirring.
So,
Even though if that's the same as people who use a straw for drinking, I don't know.
So I would actually, I would like to make a motion to amend this ordinance just relative to the effective date in Section 5, that it be effective March 1st, 2019. Is there a second on that?
Sorry, what date?
March 1st,
Second.
2019. Thank you, Mr. Bilski. If you,
That was Mr. Klein.
thank you, Mr. Klein.
No, no one's.
Well, you'd also want to change Section 3.
Yes, and also to obviously change that in Section 3 as well. Thank you.
I'll amend my second.
If you would call roll on that amendment, please.
Barron,
Yes.
Braverman. Klein. Luder,
Yes.
Perry. Duber.
Yes. I'm happy to we can make a committee if that's what, you know, the large amount of council.
Committee, just a working group. You want to do it? Anybody
no.
else you want?
I obviously would like to be a part of a working group. My intent is to have second reading at our next meeting and to
Still do that.
pass it at the following meeting, if it's something that council is comfortable with. But I would be happy to.
Administration's comfortable with it?
I would hope that the administration would be comfortable with it by then.
Through it. I mean, this is Thanksgiving and Christmas and
Have any
how fast we can do it.
in Ohio adopted it at all?
Lost.
You're aware of, Steve?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Oh, okay.
Ohio, around the country, there's.
Work, but we need to work on it to make.
So I'm happy to set
It's
up.
going into the stores and seeing that they have.
Steve and Bob McLaughlin.
Absolutely. So we can set something up and have a working committee.
Be on it too, I have a
Lisa
feeling.
wants to be on it?
I cannot meet during the daytime, but I wonder if, I would be happy to reach out to Dan Brown if that would be helpful. Dan Brown. Our old council person who used to be an environmentalist who.
Right.
Liz, didn't he?
Do that for your own research, just.
Stand freeze now instead.
Experience with if
He is an environmental consulting company.
So I'd like to be on this, in this working group. Mr. Barron, I see his notice. Is there anybody else who would like to be
Do
on
it
this?
if it's during the day. Yeah, I could do it.
Raise your hand. Can we have four? We can't have four.
Well, I mean, you can, you just
Well-
need to call.
Oh, that's right, we can't. That's it, no more than 3.
I'd like it to be an administrative working group. I don't want to make it a public meeting.
Right. Is there, I guess I'll let you two duke it out if you guys want
Who
to. Rock, paper, scissors.
Who's doing it? You could.
Assuming the working group is going to do some research,
Do it. I got more than enough.
just a bunch of us
Two.
sitting around.
He can do it.
Started research.
I'll do it.
All right. So myself, Mr. Klein, Mr. Barron,
Wait, I didn't hear it. Okay, Klein,
Klein, Mr. Barron, and myself.
Barron,
And let's try to do this so that we can have all our questions answered by the next meeting.
One other thing I'll throw in there, when I was looking on history and some of these things, I mean, there is an initial hardship if a store or a business has a batch of plastic bags, but when they go and they order their next round, they order a different kind.
Paper
It's not
ones.
like, I mean, I think the fact that we've pushed this date out,
That's one of the things, when you talk about a date, some of these folks have their plastic bags printed up and in stock for a while.
And I think
No,
that if any
A lot of corporations are going to be printing them out, at their, and let's face it, many of the retailers that we do have, while they're new to this area, are part of some chain somewhere, so they're printing that out elsewhere. But maybe this begins to give them the incentive to change their policy and to do something different.
Well,
there's hardships, I think that we're not a punitive municipality, and I think that's something that we can look at. If somebody comes to us with a significant hardship for a period of time, I'm not opposed to, to looking at that. This isn't a punitive measure, this isn't a punitive ordinance, this is a.
Environmentally friendly.
That is hopefully good for generations down the road.
with the next newsletter, putting in some educational, informational stuff about this.
Well, that we're thinking of doing this.
Now we're just doing our recycling calendar for next year.
This isn't a recycling ordinance.
But we can do a lot towards communicating the educational piece of it.
I'm happy.
And awareness piece of it. Until I read this ordinance, I assure you, this was not anything I ever,
but Mayor, it's
from reading this.
It's the newspapers are pushing this like mad all over, and
Also planning to have Diane Bickett here at the December 5th meeting. It's just serendipitous that it's at this time because there's so much in flux with recycling that she is going to come and tell us about it, but it's just, she has raised some points about this ordinance too that we can work through when we talk offline.
straws.
Let me just say this too, that the purpose of this is not just so that it's a recyclable bag, it's that a paper bag will decompose at a substantially faster rate than a plastic bag. And that's what a lot of this comes down to. So it doesn't just have to do with the recycling.
Plastic bag at Heinz.
if it does go in a landfill, the paper bag will decompose at a substantially faster rate.
Absolutely.
You know, I was just thinking, you know, Costco that doesn't have bags at all. I mean, they give you nothing. I mean, here's your stuff.
A box.
Yeah, they're boxes.
You want one, yeah, I suppose.
The,
Maybe retailers will turn to that, and people will not be, not giving you a bag at all, and people will be, you know.
the country of Kenya, who basically doesn't have any money and a lot of people don't have shoes, has ordinances not only similar to this, but that are a lot more restrictive. And I think it's sad that the United States doesn't already.
We're starting in our humble way.
I've said it. Does anybody else want to make any other comments?
I think good. We're starting.
Act locally.
All right. Moving on to ordinance 2018-44, an ordinance amending the annual appropriation ordinance of Orange Village to change certain appropriations for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2018, repealing certain ordinances and declaring an emergency. This is on for first reading. The administration has requested suspension of the rules. Would anybody like to make a motion to suspend the rules?
Second.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Klein. This is the annual housekeeping, or if you can actually call roll on suspension first, please.
Barron,
Yes.
Braverman,
Is this on 44?
44,
Suspension of the rules.
suspension.
44.
appropriations.
44? Yes. Yes.
Okay. Klein,
Got a little
Yes.
hung up.
Bilski,
Yes.
Send it to
Sure.
Bob McLaughlin.
Sure,
Yes.
Perry,
Yes.
Duber.
Yes. And can I have a motion to pass ordinance 2018-44?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you.
These are the numbers now that we've discussed at the front.
Dana, if you would, please give a little chat on this.
In working on our October month end, I had noticed that there were some line items that were appropriated. We were very close to exceeding. So, so that we don't have any expenditures exceeding the appropriation, I have made these recommended changes. That includes on the solid waste collection, there was just a typo for an addition that I corrected. Personal services for finance as a result of me coming on board and still paying the previous treasurer, as well as unemployment compensation. We are running very close to exceeding appropriations there. So I have recommended an increase. The transfers out, in looking at the previous ordinance for a budget amendment, it listed the transfers, but there was a separate transfer for the $174,875.94 sale of Lander Road, and that was not included in the ordinance. So it's, again, another cleanup of just adding that transfer. It was already approved by council, it's already been done, but it wasn't included in the ordinance, so we were just making that clear, more clearly stated. As well in transfers, there's the $9,508 transfer from the infrastructure levy fund to the debt service fund. That's an annual transfer, and that was not listed in the budget, but I did not increase the total line item. It's just a reallocation of expenditures for that. In addition, the State Highway Fund, just increasing at $1,350 due to shortfalls expected in the next month before we do the final year end and reallocation of salt. And then the state and local law enforcement, just increasing that just a little bit, just to get us through the rest of the time there as well. So they were just basically cleanup housekeeping items. Basically, the auditor's estate recommends as a practice that you periodically look over your budget appropriations and increase them. You don't wait until the end of the year and do a cleanup and go over what council's authorized as an appropriation. So periodically, I would be looking at these in the future and then bringing forth any amended changes, and then also requesting suspension so it can be put on the books for that month.
Thank you. Anybody have questions, comments, concerns? Thank you.
Thank you.
If you call roll, please.
Barron, Braverman,
Yes.
Klein,
Yes.
Bilski,
Yes.
Luder,
Yes.
Duber.
Yes. And does this have to go to P&Z as well? Yes. Okay. Moving on to ordinance 2018-45, an ordinance agreeing to adjust the boundaries between Orange Village and the city of Beechwood pursuant to Ohio Revised Code, section 709.37, and zoning the new territory. This is on for first reading. It's going to be referred to planning and zoning, and we're going to set a public hearing for the January 9th regular meeting.
Could you,
Yes.
can I just take this opportunity to invite Mr. Mooney to make arrangements that we come in and we will talk offline about all this?
Do you? No, she's just saying that she'll.
I'm telling you that we'll talk about it.
It's fine with me, I'd like to, just reiterate the fact that we just want to be part of the discussion.
Yeah, that's what the mayor just indicated, that, she'll talk to you and make sure that you guys are part of the discussion and understand, what's going on.
I just want to know what's going on.
Okay. Well, that's how you find out.
So, it's kind of, just by chance,
Good.
so we have to look at the ordinance tonight and saw that it was.
Josh Thomas and Dante Mendoza.
We got the letter, and now let's have a face-to-face meeting.
Yeah, if council would like to discuss something today.
Well, I don't think today is necessary. It's just on for first reading. This really hasn't been discussed, so, I think the best way to do it probably is for you and the mayor to discuss, with whoever else is necessary for that. And, I think it'd be a more personal discussion that you guys can have about it, and I think it'd be a better way for you to get more information and you to give your opinions and, and do that, if that work. Does that work?
It works.
Okay.
I just am curious, then why was it put on first reading tonight?
Well, that's how it works, in terms of the agendas. There's an agenda that we're interested in moving forward with, and we're putting it on for first reading tonight. We're not passing anything tonight on this, and there's still a lot of discussion that's going to be had on this. Okay? All right. Thank you, sir. Moving on to audience comments relating to matters which advance the good of the village. Any other comments? Oh, yes. Come on up. And we all know who you are, but just for the record, if you'd please state your name.
You are.
And congratulations.
Everyone, my name is Winnie DeBrant. I was just elected to state representative. I just wanted to make sure I got on the record, since we are recording line, that I'm here, and I want to make sure that everyone here in the village has my phone number, and that I'm also going to be available. I'm having my first town hall meeting on January 27th, 2019 at the Bedford Heights Rec Center. It's going to be at 4 o'clock. And I'm making sure that you guys all get an invite for all 10 of our cities. We're going to try to rotate these town halls and have them once every 3 months. So we'll rotate them to a different part of the House district. Also, too, I'm going to work with our mayor so we can try to incorporate some local office hours. So I want to try to have office hours in each city once every 2 months so people can come meet me in their actual city. So once a week, I'll be in a different city since it's 10 cities. That just lets you know how long the rotation is going to be.
Just don't bring any straws, that's all.
So look forward to sending you guys an invite. So it's January 27th at 4 p.m. and it's at the Bedford Heights Rec Center. So look forward to, yes?
Rep-elect?
Yes.
May I extend an invitation for you to hold one of your not too distant future meetings right here?
I appreciate that. Thank you. Also, too, I wanted to make a comment to Councilman Duber. I just recently went to Seattle, Washington. They have no straws. You really didn't notice the difference. I know within Starbucks, the one here locally, they're going to be getting rid of straws completely in 2025. So, interested enough, the reason why that even happened because one of their lobbyists got in contact with me. I didn't know you were even doing this, but their lobbyists reached out and just were saying this is something they're moving forward with in the area because we were trying to do it on a county council area. I know there were at least 20 residents in the village of Orange who wrote a letter to county council when they were trying to pass a similar legislation for the county. And so I know there's some residents who are trying to support it. But one thing, if I had to add anything, is that I don't hear a transition period. And I might be overstepping my boundaries when I say this. I don't see a transition period between when when just helping people get through that transition.
No, we
so it
do,
can
we
be
do
some-
have one in the ordinance that it would start, we changed it tonight, we amended it to transition so that it would start March 1st.
So I know in Seattle, they took a year-long transition. They gave people time to purge all their bags and kind of revamp themselves, and they brought in specialists to help people buy particular bags that were more environmental friendly. Also with the straws that were available, they were disposable straws, and some of them were edible straws where they were made out of vegetables, which is really good for like children. So a good way to get your kids to drink, and then they can eat the straw. I spent a nice little time in Seattle, but so I'm for whenever you want to work together for the state. I'm definitely have an ear, but I'm behind whatever the city wants to do at the end of the day. But I'm your voice, and I just want to help make sure we extend it not just for the city, but also for the state.
Our voice in Columbus?
Yes.
Work hard to not let that ordinance that takes away our right to decide.
I agree. That's why I was shaking my head the entire time. So I agree.
Great, thank you very much. Appreciate your support.
Thank you, Representative Brett.
Any other comments? Let's move on to committee reports, comments by council members. Ms. Perry.
Thank you. I went to the NOPEC General Assembly meeting on Tuesday, and it was very informative. They spent a lot of time explaining what they do, how they do it, and why they are better than independent utility aggregators, and that they stick with the price. They don't lowball to get you signed up. But the most interesting thing of the meeting was that they have funds available for grants. They have special pricing for municipalities, and some other things that for street lighting.
We just had a grant. We just, at Harvard Brainerd, did you see the sign? That was a NOPEC grant, and what else? Yeah, I think.
This is definitely an organization that shares their expertise and their revenues.
Thanks for going.
For you, buddy.
Thank you, Mr. Barron. Mr. Braverman.
No, I was going to go, and he took my place, so I don't ever.
Oh!
Mr. Bilski.
Nothing? Thanks.
There was no planning commission meeting this past week. We will be meeting again next week. There are a number of things on the agenda for that meeting. It'll be, I think, an interesting meeting, and would encourage those who have something they'd like to at least talk about, a couple of these issues that relate to the territory change, the city boundary change, and some of these variances that will be up. So I hope that those of you who are interested might come to that meeting. I just wanted to reiterate something I brought up this earlier at the Finance Committee meeting regarding the development of a fund that would support community, economic, and public relations development in Orange Village. I think we might want to look at some kind of a ad hoc committee to investigate what other communities are doing and how we might implement such a resource in our community going forward. I think it's going to be an important tool to have in our tool bag as we see the development taking place at both the ongoing development at Pinecrest that will really continue forever now, and that we need to be proactive as a community to support and maintain the character and quality that we want to see happen, along with the other developments that are coming along, and looking at other aspects of our community where there is some need for economic development thinking, like at, for example, Miles and Brainerd. So I just wanted to bring that up and suggest that perhaps we create a committee to look at this.
We've got all these committees.
Committees. We're going to be a village of committees. And everybody should have a happy, healthy, and enjoyable Thanksgiving.
Yeah, you stole my line. Kudos to Brandon for introducing 1843. You can't escape any media, written or audio, talking about the environment. And if we are going to try and represent the community and trying to make it a better, safe place, not only for ourselves, our children, our grandchildren, and future generations. So we start with plastic bags and straws. But I think it's wonderful to get going. It's not the answer, but it's a beginning. And if it takes a month or two or longer, so be it. I think my concern is, that the businesses will comply. I hope they do. I don't want to be punitive with that particularly.
Sort of hoping that like the Fairmount Properties people get back to me to see if this is an issue or where it's an issue or.
But I think that the fact that we're taking the bull by the horns and we're going ahead and going to try and do something rather than nothing and wait for the ball to fall in our court is very encouraging. So yes, I'm very happy, and yes, thank you everybody. Have a happy, healthy Thanksgiving, and that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Mayor, comments?
No, I don't have any.
Wow.
I don't think I have any comments either. So can I have a motion to adjourn into executive session for the purpose of discussing pending or prospective litigation?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Call roll. And we would invite the chief of police into that as well. Not anywhere.
Barron,
Yes.
Braverman,
Yes.
Klein,
Yes.
Bilski,
Yes.
Cluter,
Yes.
Harry.
Yes.
Yes. Not too much giggling, Zugan, or we'll invite you too.
We'll be in trouble next.
Is this going to be fast?
Dana?
Uh-oh. It's got to be on it.
Brandon, is it going to be quick?